Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today, my guest is someone that I've known for a little bit now. We bonded about a year ago at an event that we both attended and happened to sit next to each other. And when I met her and started talking to her, I knew that this woman would be in my life for a long time. My next guest, her name is Julia Gandy Torres. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's been studying stress and well-being for over 25 years and is the owner of Embodying Wellness. She has learned to help people reduce their stress on multiple aspects of their being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She is a HeartMath Coach and Trainer, a Mindfulness Master Coach, and a Certified Canfield Success Coach. Now you know why I was attracted to her. And I didn't even know all this when I met her. She hosts webinars and offers online classes and coaching to help individuals, families, and groups find inner peace and balance. And who doesn't need that in their life? She is also a peace builder and helps people find greater access to inner peace. She has not only walked the halls of Congress advocating for a cabinet-level department of peace building, but she has also helped countless individuals find peace at the end of life as a hospice massage therapist. Her book, A Jersey Girl Finds Peace, is available for purchase on Amazon and at jerseygirlpeace.com. Let's welcome Julia to the show.
Well,
Hello.
hello.
What a bio.
Thank you. It's been a journey. And I can't believe that it's not even been a year since we met.
We met.
I know. It's the beginning of May.
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
That's right. I confused that with my journey that started last January, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, a year, but still, we're getting close to May. It's almost here. Right?
I know. But it's like our lives have really kind of meshed together. So it's great. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. That was my first event ever that I've ever attended in this kind of space, right? So I was just new, going to write my book, starting to meet all of you guys that were already in that space.
Yeah.
And, we happened to sit next to each other, introduce ourselves to each other, found out that we lived close to each other. And, we had a lot of connections, which was strange. And that we had never ran into one another. So,
And ever since then,
the rest is history, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So, of course, there's so many things about you that I absolutely love. And your resilience throughout your life. Every time you share your story, your different stories, you have so many. The fact that you showed resilience in all of those areas of your life is what always has inspired me about you. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about a moment in your life where you had to struggle with something and share with my viewers how you overcame that struggle.
Well, like you said, there's been many. And, but I think what really, the story that the event in my life that really propelled me forward to share my story, right, was when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2018. So it was October of 2018. And I had gone through, I call it my times of trouble, because I had 3 deaths in my family, and 2 of them were long extended caregiving. My father was in Maryland, so every other weekend, my siblings and I would split going down. 2 would go down one weekend, 2 would go down the next weekend, just to help our stepmother out. And so he lived 5 hours away.
Wow.
So that was draining, taking care of him, seeing his decline, and not being able to be there more often. So then, my aunt had passed. She was like my second mom the year before. Not even. It was like 8 months before that. And she had glioblastoma. So it was a very quick.
Wow.
From, I guess she was diagnosed in April, the previous April, and then she passed by October of 2014. And then my dad died in August of 2015. And in between that, my cousin, who is my sister almost, we grew up together. She found her father had passed in his bed. They were
unexpected.
Yeah, very unexpected. So, those three compounded everything. But at the same time, I was going through a divorce with my daughter's father, and it was a very, 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 very slow process. It was almost like ripping a Band-Aid off and putting it back on, and ripping. It was very slow. And so that had its own challenges. And in the midst of all that, my daughter fell 8 feet, and thank goodness it was a miracle she did not die. She could have landed face first on a table, but something knocked her off, and she ended up just spending the night in the hospital, and everything was fine. But
Oh my God.
she fractured her jaw and had a big hole in her chin. So that was like all this was going on at one time. And then finally my husband and I did split, and I moved, and I fell in love. I fell in love with my now new husband. But at the time this is in 2018, I just moved in with him, and I felt this, like it was up here, and it was just like, what is this? And as a massage therapist, I'm thinking, is it a muscle? Like, is that something, maybe it's a torn this or that, or there's an adhesion. It didn't hurt,
Right.
but it was like real up high, So I kind of watched it for a few days, few weeks, whatever. And then my husband will tell you that it was him that drugged me to the doctors, but I knew I had to go.
He just put the fire under you to get there.
Right. And he also told my mother and my sisters.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Oh yeah, he called in the big guns. But so after that diagnosis, it was like, you get on this conveyor belt of this doctor. It's almost like you're out of control of your own body almost, because you get biopsies, and you got this, and this person's poking you and prodding you. And it was really an interesting time because, during my whole career of learning all of these things to help reduce stress and help reduce anxiety, and switching my internal locus of always feeling worried to, getting into more of a peaceful place.
Right.
This was a big challenge, right? I felt like my reserves were empty, and my cup was like really, after all these different things that happened in this short amount of time,
right,
that my body's resilience was low, right? So I think that was but led myself to get this cancer. And
so Julia, let me just interject a little bit here. Does your family just popped into my head? Does your family have a history of cancer? Are you people that have to watch out for because you've had several people have cancer?
Well, yes? Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is we didn't. My sister she's 7 years older than me. She was diagnosed at the same age, 47, with breast cancer, and she didn't get the genetic test, but I did, and there was no genetic precursors, or they couldn't find any. Right.
There you go. Right.
I think my grandmother, my dad's mom, had breast cancer at the end of her life, but it was undiagnosed. It was one of those things that, we don't know whether it's a genetic thing or if it's just an environmental thing. I don't know.
Plus, there's things out there that the medical community has just not identified yet, right?
Exactly.
So it could have been not now, but later on, maybe.
Yeah.
Which is scary. But, nonetheless, there are things that happen, right? We're better than we were many, many years ago. So Yours was also breast cancer.
Yeah.
You say it was high up. So was it in an area typically that you wouldn't
Yeah,
feel?
it was right up here. It was
So
on
not
my
what you would typically consider breast cancer, right?
right, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was way up here. That's why I was like, okay, it's like literally an inch below my collarbone,
Right
right?
here. Yeah. So that's not something that people would be looking for when they tell you to check yourself, right? Every month we're taught check yourself, check your tatas, and see if there's any do self breast exams, and your doctor teaches you to do these things. Not a place where you would typically be looking for it.
Right,
So I
right.
think it's important
Real
for
bad.
viewers to know that you can get breast cancer outside of the area that you typically consider your breast.
Yeah, because it's all the duct work, right?
Right.
So
Explain that.
yeah,
Duct work.
the ducts. I don't know. You're the nurse.
You're the massage therapist that likes to move the lymph, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it was surprising that it was that high up, and that it could develop in those small little, it's like a plumbing system. So it was very.
I think it's telling, and I think not to scare anyone. I said, but these are the things that I love to bring to people's attention because arm yourself with education. When you know you do better, right?
Yeah.
Then I wish I would have known. So this is something that's rare. It's, I don't typically hear a story like this, that it was outside of the area that you would typically see. And, with a cancer history, even though it's not genetic, it means that you guys carry a predisposition
Right.
to develop this. Now, you had already been a massage therapist, so you know to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've already were in the peace building space.
Right.
How early in your life did that begin, where you started that road of learning how to build inner peace and how to help others? How old were you?
I want to say I was about 6 or 7.
6 or 7 years old.
Yeah. Because my sister now will take credit for this because my 2 sisters were very close in age, and then my brother was not even a year behind my other sister, so very close in age.
The 3 of them, right?
The 3 of them, and then 6 years later, here I come, right? So they're all older, and it's a couple of funny stories, but one. And I'm dating myself now, but my sisters would argue to the point where they shared a room. And I remember the one, I don't know who threw what first, but the one threw the phone, it was a red phone, had the body, had the cord, and then the handle, the earpiece.
Wow, those old-fashioned kind of phones.
Yeah, old-fashioned kind
were on the wall.
Not on the wall, but it
attached to the wall, though, right? It was plugged in.
Yeah, it was like one of those princess phones, right? So
okay.
that goes flying through the air, almost, clotheslines the one sister. The other sister picks up a dumbbell and throws that, and I remember seeing this dumbbell flying through the hallway and like smacking into the wall. And, I just always remember, like, can't we get along? Like, literally my kids, I would call them my kids because that's what my mom called everybody. But my kids, why can't my kids get along? Why can't my kids be happy? And I would get to the point. But then a funny story was, again, dating myself, was we had one color TV in the house, right? This was 1970-ish, 75, 76. And we have one color TV and one black and white TV. That was, the black and white TV was like all the way in another room in a corner. You had to sit like on a little stool to watch this TV. It wasn't very comfortable at all. And I at the time wanted to watch Scooby-Doo, right? I was again like 6 or 7 years old, but it was on the same time as General Hospital, right? Uh-oh. So it was 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, and my mom and my sisters wanted to watch General Hospital, but I wanted to watch Scooby-Doo. So I'm looking like, okay, what is the how can I change this? Because I want to watch Scooby-Doo on the color TV. So I knew, for some reason, I knew that cliffhangers happened on soap operas. So I wrote a letter to my mom and I said, can we switch? Like, you guys can watch General Hospital Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because Friday is the cliffhanger. Monday, you have to watch what happened on the previous Friday. And I can watch Scooby-Doo on the color TV Tuesdays and Thursdays. It didn't go far.
A for effort.
Yeah, A for effort. I tried. I was like, okay, how can I at least get a little bit? She'll deny that story. I've told her that story. She's like, I don't remember it that way.
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's always been, I remember writing letters to my brother about, TV watching. And so it was in me from a very young age to try to, like, whatever the situation is, whether it's watching, TV, how everybody kind of affects the situation and how everybody can kind of help the situation be the best for all concerned.
Got it. So it looks like you always had a different perspective. You were always able to view it from a different perspective than everybody else and say, hey, there's a way that we can all be happy.
Yeah.
Now, can't we all work it out?
Right. It may not be completely 100% for everybody, but we're all kind of swimming in the same pool. We're all swimming in the same pond. And if you're, we have this field of interconnection, right? So if Marilyn's not happy and you're around me, then, or I'm not happy and I'm around you, we can pick up on each other, right? So it's how can we lift up each person in and help the situation in the best way possible at that time. It may change. It may develop something else later in time, but it was, we have to look at it at the highest and best for all concerned at that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think my youngest child is exactly what you described. I remember, and he's like 10 years younger than his brother and 13 years younger than his sister. And we were going away on a trip. And the older two were fighting with each other and they were not listening to me. Right. So he got involved and just told them to please stop fighting. And they listened to him. Right. Mm-hmm. And he's always been the one to do the same thing. At 3 years old, 4 years old, saying, please stop fighting. Don't talk to each other that way. It's not nice. Don't be nice. You know?
Right? We teach our little ones to be nice. And then all of a sudden they hit those 11 and 12-year-old ages. And I don't know what happens to those children.
So yeah, that just triggers that he's got that same type of perspective where he wants everybody to get along and he hates conflict and he will try to be the one to build that. So I guess I got to foster that in him too. But that's not always the case, right? So sometimes you get into situations where it's hard for you to be that way. I kind of remember a story you shared with me about a bar fight. So,
oh my God.
Not always is Miss Julia Gandy Torres, this peacebuilder, right? So
sometimes, that's where the jersey comes out. Right. But it was funny. I can't believe you brought this up.
So I just want to show the other side of Julia.
So anyway, do you want me to tell the story?
You can tell the story because I want to know how you got out of it. Because Julia, the real Julia, finally came through, right?
Right. And it was very early in my spiritual journey, and I was studying with a teacher, and she would tell me, like, if this situation is pulling you out of your peace, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe it's not worth the following that path. Right. So I was working at a local bar here. It was a restaurant. It was actually a barbecue place, and we had live music, and there was, bands every weekend, and, a big following, a big regular kind of bar where a lot of regulars would come in. And the guys in the back, in the back of the house, so all the cooks, the dishwashers, and everybody we're all friends with the girls in the front of the house, and we would hang out all the time. And so maybe this is why the bar is not open anymore, but we would all, after our shift was over and after the bar closed, we would all hang out and drink for free. But the one particular day or night, actually, the owner of the building, so not the owner of the restaurant, but the owner of the building, his son came in with his girlfriend, right? So they thought that they were the cool kids because they're hanging out with us, and we were all around playing pool and stuff. So one of the guys comes over and he picks up a beer, and the girlfriend, who we don't know who she is, she's like, he picked up my beer. He drank my beer. I was like, okay, look, go get another beer. We're all drinking for free. It's not like he stole your beer or put something in your beer. Like, just go get another one. And she wouldn't she kept it going, right? And
she wouldn't let it go. She wouldn't let
it go, right? So I'm talking to her, right? And in between us, like, I'm up a couple of steps and there's a railing that I'm leaning on because the pool table's down here below, and that's where she's standing. She's standing down a couple steps. And my girlfriends, who were all other waitresses and bartenders, were over here, and I hear them saying, Julie's getting a fight. Julie's getting a fight. And I'm like, just, it's not a big deal. Just go get another beer, and she's wouldn't let it go. So it was like divine intervention, seriously, because one of the other guys comes over and he had a big pint of black and tan. So it's Guinness, really heavy, and, something else. And he puts it down right in front of me. Uh-oh. Okay. So it's on, and I call when my Italian comes out, right? So I'm getting all like, it's not worth it. And I was like, you're not worth it. And she's like, what? And I was like, you're not worth it. And I hit the beer, the pint goes all down the front of her. And I was like, oops.
This isn't going well.
Yeah. And she just looked at me and just like freaked out. And that's when all the guys get involved. And, and everybody's trying to break things up. And it didn't, like, nothing was happening.
So you were actually trying to make peace between two other people and got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That happens, right? And and
sometimes it happens when you're trying to build peace.
Yeah, right. Sometimes
it's not always peaceful.
Yeah. So it's a very the act of peace building is where everybody at the table wants it to happen, and when there's people that don't want the peace to happen, then that's a whole different story. So that's a whole different way of communicating. And so it comes first within that Absolutely. Inner peace building. It all comes from within.
And you have to want it. You have to want peace for yourself. If you don't want peace for yourself and you thrive off of other things, then you're not going to find it.
Right.
You have to want it to do it. So for step number 1, identify that you want it, and then seek the ways to do it.
Exactly. Now, and it's like, when sometimes what really was an eye opener for me was when I was like, really, something just kind of got me upset. Right. And then I realized, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of liking this upset feeling. This is something that, wow, it was eye opening for me, because I remember standing in my kitchen like, whoo, I'm getting from this upset. Like, okay, well, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to get upset. I want to feel the good feeling, but I don't want to get upset to feel the good feeling. Huh. So what can I do to change that? What can I do to, because, another story was when I was working in Cherry Hill and I lived in Sicklerville. So it was about a 45-minute drive, very a lot of traffic, a lot of heavy traffic. And I remember rushing down the highway and like yelling at people. This was when I was in my early 20s. Get out of my way because I want to get home to relax. And I'm like, wait a minute.
We all do that.
Right?
We all do that.
Right? But it's like, I can start to relax right now while I'm in the car. I can use this as my time to decompress, to get, like, I don't have to get home to relax. I can relax right now.
Wow. And that's a difference. That's the mindset switch.
Yeah.
Why wait till I get home to relax? I'm going to do it right now.
Right. Right. So we can find that,
I like that,
those moments all the time. I can find 5 breaths to make me, okay, now I feel calm. It doesn't have to be an hour meditation. It doesn't have to be going to sleep at night. It can be really just moment by moment, choosing to feel peace, choosing to feel calmness, but not pushing anything under the rug, right? Not pushing any feelings, acknowledging how you're feeling, honoring how you're feeling, because that, if you're upset, there's some part of you that needs attention. You honor what you're feeling, saying, right. I am upset, I'm feeling anxious, but I choose to feel calmness. I'm feeling anxious, I'm choosing to feel calmness. And whatever it is you're feeling and whatever it is you want to feel, you acknowledge it, and then you declare what you want to feel. And then you say that over and over again. I can do that while I'm doing the laundry, or
there you go.
drive down the street. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to stop your life to get these kinds of things into.
See, these are real life tips that people need to hear. Going back to your cancer journey, right? There are 2 things that stands out to me. Number 1, when you have a predisposition for cancer in your family, I have that myself, right? Even though we have all these tips and tools, when many things happen that are out of our control, you had multiple deaths in your family, you were going through a divorce, you were going through all of that. That level of stress will contribute to it manifesting into your body.
Exactly.
So illness begins outside of your body first.
Exactly.
It's cumulative. And I'm saying this as a nurse, you're saying this as a massage therapist. This is what we see, this is what we know and we learn.
Right.
Illness begins outside of your body. When you don't have control of these external factors, it will manifest itself in some way. And whatever you're genetically predisposed to, that's where it'll be. Diabetics. Usually there's an emotional factor to that, right? So you become diabetic. Your blood pressure is high. You get cancer. All these different things we see whenever there's high times of stress. So in order to eliminate that or minimize that risk for yourself, you have to find ways to combat the stress. Or if it's already identified, like you had the cancer, right? What did you do? Were the same things that you just described to help you get out of that mindset?
So again, divine intervention happened. My minister, who had moved away the same day that I saw my dad for the last time. Okay, so I leave my dad in 2015. It was August, and I kind of knew I wasn't going to see him again, right? And I went straight to my church. It was a Sunday morning because it was his last day, my minister's last day there. He was moving on to another church.
Okay.
And so it was a huge time for me, right? And so fast forward again to 2018, when I had this diagnosis, my minister reached out to me. The first time I've talked to him, or he either, like, we see, each other on Facebook or whatever, but he reached out to me to ask if he's putting together a book and would I want to submit any prayers for this book. And it was like, okay, this is the last thing that I need, or I just don't want to say the last thing, but I had all the emotional, all the stress, all these different techniques to help me with this, to get through all of that time of troubles, right? And I knew I needed to ask for help. at this time. And going to my community, going to my family, going to my support system, like really having a support system during this time, because I knew all the stuff that I needed to do. Like you just said, the stress, the everything that happens out here eventually gets into your body. And so I was an ordained minister from 2005, right? So I knew that I needed my spiritual community to help me get through this next huge thing. So I really dove back into my spirituality. I dove back into my connection with the divine, with, and just really, really connected, knowing that I was going to get through this, right? There was no question, there was no doubt. And giving myself the time to heal. And because I think we get into this mindset of I gotta do, right? And I remember my grandmother sitting at the table after dinner, and she's like, and this woman's in a wheelchair. She's like 82, 3 years old. And she's like, I can sleep good tonight because I did a lot today. And I was like, Graham, you should be able to sleep good whether or not you did a lot at all. You're 83 years old. Like, just chill a little bit, but we should be able to sit and relax and establish ourselves, reconnect with ourselves, fill your cup. The mantra I live by is fill your own cup first and let others drink from the overflow. Sometimes that cup gets so empty that it breaks, right? And we have to fill that cup up. Sometimes we have to repair the cup, but we need to fill our own cups first, and let others drink from the overflow. And when I was going through, thank goodness, I didn't need chemo. I just had radiation, because as a massage therapist, as a single mom, I needed to work. I needed to put food on the table, and I needed I didn't want my 9-year-old daughter to see her mom's hair fall out,
Right.
So, I was fortunate, and that's the one thing that my community helped me with, was intending that the numbers would come back from the testing of the tumor that I didn't need chemo. And everybody was, it was the running thing was 15, right? Because the chemo type needed to be above 16 in order for, if it was 16, if it was over 16, I would need chemo. If it was under 16, I would need just radiation.
So 16 and below.
Right. So my sister was like, let's do 15. So everybody, my church was intending 15. Every time they see me, they would see 15. And my family, everybody was doing this. So the only thing I don't recommend having cancer treatment or cancer testing over the holidays, because it was
my God,
back another week. So instead of a 10-day wait period, it was like almost 3 weeks. Wow. I was like, okay, just more time to intend 15, just more time. Like, I was trying to literally calm my body in knowing that this, we're all connected and all these things. And, like, it was really putting all that to the test. And so when the doctor called me and said that the number was 16, so I didn't need chemo. It was right on the border, but it was like right there. So, it was, when I went into my radiation treatments, it was still hard, because it was like, again, on that conveyor belt of, these people all knew what they're doing. All the techs, all the, radiologists, all these people, they all knew this is like their day to day. But for me, it was like, oh my God, this, I'm getting markers put in me and all these things, like, what the heck is going on? Right. And it was, again, feeling like you're on the conveyor belt. And so again, just knowing, like you said, the stress and everything builds up. It's cumulative. So how can I not allow this stress to fester? You know, once it gets into your body, we all feel stress. We all feel anxiousness. We all feel these things. It's a matter of getting it out of the body and becoming aware of it and releasing it, whether it's through journaling or writing or a punching bag or whatever it is, getting rid of the stress, not letting it build up to the point where it festers in your body. And so it was a really big learning, and I'm still to this day, you know, that was thankfully 4 years ago now. 5 years, it'll be 5 years this October. I do life differently now, you know, and I turn off my, if I'm feeling even a little bit pulled, you know, I have a lot of things going on, a lot of, you know, work and a lot of projects and things that, you know, we're working on together. But I know I have this much time to do something, right? If I'm feeling a little bit, well, I mean, I don't overdo. I know when I get to the point where I'm starting to feel a little bit depleted, and I'll stop and I'll do a technique, or I'll sit for a half an hour, or I'll just breathe for 5 minutes or whatever it is, or I'll turn my phone off and sit and watch TV with my family, you know, whatever it is, whatever I need to do.
Right.
I don't measure my success on how many this or that I get done. It's how I feel at the end.
You got to give yourself permission to disconnect, because we need it. We all need to replenish our stores, just like you're talking about, filling your own cup and all of that. So that's really, really important. You gave some really good tips and tools here. Ask for help, have a support system, allow yourself time to heal. It's okay. It's not going to happen overnight. No. We're such in a rush to perform and to do and to this and to that, right? That we have to give ourselves permission that it's going to take some time, and every time for everybody is different. And find ways of calm throughout the day, right? So it doesn't have to be that your 8 hours at work has to be a continuous 8 hours of work. Give yourself permission. That's why there's mandatory lunch breaks, right? There's mandatory breaks in there. You're supposed to take them. And when you're taking them, even if you go, I tell my nurses, when you go wash your hands, if you're upset at something, go wash your hands. There's something about water, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And washing your hands and doing this, that resets the body. When you're doing this and you're washing hands the way that we typically do as nurses and as healthcare professionals, we're doing this, right? Which changes the waves of your brain at the same time that you're doing it unknowingly to you.
Yeah.
So doing things like that are going to help, you know, little things throughout the day.
Yeah. Take, you know, a couple deep breaths, and literally it will change your nervous system. And that's what we need.
Taking breaths. Take a walk. If you can, take a walk on your lunch break, take on your bathroom break, just go take a walk. Take some deep breaths while you're doing it and reset yourself. So I know you do trainings, you do things to help people navigate their way and find out what works for them, right?
Yeah.
So what's the best way for them to get a hold of you if they want to learn more about helping them have inner peace?
Yeah. So the linktree at the bottom, that is the best way to get in touch with me. There's many different ways that I can help you, help people. And I'm working now on developing a membership platform where people can come. I have a course called Embodying Peace, and creating a community around that, where you get videos on how to best observe what it is that you want, what is getting in the way of what you want, and then techniques to get back into peace, right? So when we get pulled out of it, knowing that we get pulled out of it, the time to get back into it can lessen. So we get pulled out of our peace, and then it's like, okay, what's the last time I've been in my peace? Probably a week, maybe, you know, or maybe now it's like, okay, 6 days, or now it's 4 days. And so it's becoming aware. So, you know, the best way to, you know, to work together is to, you know, to contact me through that link at the bottom, and you can kind of get
and there's various ways, right? Various ways that you can work with people. In addition to, here's the book. That's what it looks like. It's on the backwards, right? Where's yours?
That's right here. Wait, upside down. There we go.
Oh, now it's the right side up. There you go.
Yep.
A Jersey Girl Finds Peace, available on Amazon, right?
Yep.
Amazon. So find that. And now that we're talking books, what's next for Julia and Marilyn?
Oh my goodness, so much. It's so exciting. We are starting a series of books, you and I, compiling different stories from different people for the end of life journey, right? It's called Love Never Ends. And it tells stories of people, whether it's honoring a loved one in their life's journey, or maybe it's you know, if you're a nurse or somebody in the healthcare field that experienced a beautiful end of life story. Sometimes they're not always beautiful. Sometimes they're a little, you know, they're tragic, but it's what can we learn
from that final passage, right? So we call it honoring the final passage. They're all stories. You know, we're blessed enough to have been witnesses, to have a firsthand account at the end of some of our loved ones passing, as well as other people that we were connected to through work, right? Mm-hmm. So that we were there and able to honor that last stage of life. So the purpose of the book is honoring that last stage of life, whether it's a family member, somebody you treated, somebody you assisted. But if you have a story that stands out to you and you want to share it with the world, you want to leave that legacy behind of, this is a story that I think was important on how we can honor that last stage of life. It's a taboo subject. We know that. A lot of people are afraid of death, not because of death, but because of how they're going to die, right? That is where people are afraid. We are trying to remove that stigma and share stories with you, because all we ever hear is the tragic ones, the ones on the news, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many more stories that are impactful, that honor that last stage. And that's what we're looking to do. So if anybody out there is interested, you can email us, linktree right there. You can get a hold of Julia, let her know that you're interested. You can let me know through Marilyn Morales 3817 at gmail.com. Let us know you're interested. We're both on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're everywhere. Just look us up. Let us know you got a story that you want to share, and we'll see if you're a good fit for this series. Now, this first one, it happens to do with that last stage of life. There are going to be others. So if you're not a fit for this one, you could be a fit for another one in the series that has to do with love and peace.
Yeah, love. There's been, like you said, so many more stories of beautiful passings, and we're all going to be there. We're all going to be at that moment in our lives, and how we meet that, how, if we're literally on our deathbed, can we look back on our lives and have make peace with that, make peace with our past, make peace with with those decisions. And you know, we all make mistakes, we all have things that we would have changed or done differently, or maybe not, but it's really making peace with all of those things. And so, you know, it's a very, learning from working in the hospice field for a number of years has really put a huge change my perspective on how I want to live my life. Right. And because, you know, from my own families, you know, caregiving for my own family, grandparents and aunts and parents, and to people that I walk into their world, right? I don't know what I'm walking into on a day-to-day, and this person is, it's a very sacred time to be in the midst of this family or this person who's going through this end of life, and honoring them in that moment, and being a care provider at that time, and really, you know, a lot of people say, how could you work in hospice? It's so sad. And yeah, it is sad. It is, you know, I lose patients and it's like, wow, you know, I just lost a patient, just found out this morning that I lost one of my patients, and it's, you know, it hurts a little bit, but I know that the last time I saw him, he said, I don't know what you do, but you just do it so well. He's like, you give me such peace. And then, like, that's what I want to do, right? I want to give people peace. And doing that at that time of their lives is an honor. And
It's important. Listen, I always say that a life well lived needs to be honored. And the reason that we feel such pain and why it's so sad is because that's how much love that person was able to give during their lifetime. Mm-hmm. It's a reflection of everything else. We focus so much on the end that we forget to live in the present. And that's what these stories will show you.
Yep.
That everything that happened before then is what was important. And that's why we feel it so deeply. So I can't wait to get this started and get this book out this year, guys. It's going to be out this year. Now, Julia, this is the question that I ask all my guests. And you're going to be no different. But how do you define success?
So success for me is being able to lay my head down on my pillow every night, knowing that I honored myself, I honored my family, and it could just be, I made somebody smile today. Did I make somebody smile today? Did I make somebody's life a little bit better? Did I make my own life a little bit better? You know, and just that cumulative approach, and that cumulative, you know, being able to rest my head every night and sleep good. That's success for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you for being on my show today.
Thank you for inviting me on your show, and I can't wait for this beginning of a beautiful thing that we're doing.
Absolutely. And for my viewers, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gabrielle Morales, and I am a recruitment coordinator for Be The Match. My journey with Be The Match actually began when I was only 9 years old. At that point, my 7-month-old baby sister was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of leukemia. Through the Be The Match registry, we were able to find a matching donor for my sister. And although a few months later we lost her, her cancer was cured. Our family is so thankful for the additional months that we had with my sister. And ever since then, I've made a promise to myself to dedicate my life to helping children just like Isabella and helping families like ours by continuing her legacy. Hence why I now work for Be The Match. I love what I do so much, and I'm able to spread awareness about the huge need for more donors on the registry, especially those of diverse backgrounds. There is currently a huge disparity within the registry for minority patients, and we need your help. It is so simple to save a life and to be put on the registry. You can visit izzy'slegacy.com or text Izzy's Legacy to the number 61474 to start the registration process to be on the Be The Match registry, to hopefully be a life-saving match for a searching patient in need.